So, hi, conference report. Okay, I'm watching these a little bit backwards. I haven't seen the previous video reply to my response on the adrenaline well, which I think is really getting somewhere. Whether it illustrates my point or not, these are really good uh, cases to consider, to consider will within. Okay, now this video. All right, very interesting. Also, super important to me. My skepticism really grows out of my study of the errors of science and my own errors. And I remember when I was young reading about momentum, and it went through all the things they had thought caused momentum. But you have to be really careful when you say something doesn't exist and what you mean, because in all these cases there's some sort of a phenomena. Now, sometimes even the phenomena is considered like just a result of apophenia. But if not that extreme case, then we have other things to think about. Now, first of all, let's go through these. Ether. Okay. Ether um, was supposed to be a medium because, we saw wave-like behavior. Basically, you see these Ripley-type patterns and the kinds of patterns that waves make, and in light phenomena. So, hey, all the waves we know of travel in a medium. And the ether was a theory that there was such a medium. Now, the thing is, we like to say, oh, the ether doesn't exist. Well, so it doesn't, but that's odd because the ether was supposed to be the medium through which the light travels. Does it mean that there's no medium? There's no material medium, or it just travels through space? Well, no, because the electromagnetic field is the medium through which light travels. There is a medium, and we've decided to call it the electromagnetic field. Now, we could have actually called it the ether, and a lot of people still say, oh, the radio waves traveling through the ether. But we could, even in science, say ether if we had changed the idea of the ether, because there were specific aspects of that idea that were proven incorrect. And it was not the part that said, well, it has to have a medium to travel through. It's material, a real wave needs a material medium to travel through. And so it does have a material medium. It's just that that medium is not classical. It's a relativistic, a very strange relativistic medium in which, for one thing, there's no frictive forces. Things act like idealized rubber bands in most respects, and that's weird. But the weirder part is the fact that this medium is at rest with all observers, regardless of their velocity or any change in their situation that we know about. So it's a weird medium, but there is a medium, right? Now, with epicycles, also an interesting case. Now, in that case, there's a phenomena, once again, the retrograde motion, which does exist. And when you say there are no epicycles, epicycles are the explanation. So there are epicycles. Epicycles are an idea that tries to explain something and doesn't do it that well. There are no epicycles in reality. There's no physical. The epicycle thing is not going on. Well, I mean, that's true. I mean, there's no rule that you can't have a non-relativistic accelerated frame of reference. Put yourself in the middle of it like you really are, and you'll find that these things do go backwards. The reason we don't like that is because Newtonian physics doesn't make too much sense in that case, because things are not consistent. They're not conserved, So, but anyway, there are no things, just relationships. So the relationship of epicycles doesn't really explain things as well as other relationships applied to the same phenomena. And this is the distinction you need to make. You see, in all of these cases, even phlogiston as well, which I'm not really going to go into, I think those two pretty much cover what I'm trying to say with that. in all of those cases, the realization of the parts of these theories that were illusions, right? Because there's parts that weren't. There really is retrograde motion, not an illusion. The theory that the sun is pulled by a chariot god. Sun rising, not an illusion. It's not really moving. Oh, but sun rising, still an actual phenomenon. The ether, the assumption even that there had to be some medium, just a logical assumption, was fine. The problem was assuming what kind of medium it had to be. And in every case, these realizations these are just the signposts of discoveries. These aren't realizations. I realize it's wrong. I shall go seek another idea fresh now that my mind is clear. That's never ever how it happens, is it? No, of course not. There's a big debate. Some people start to say, well, these anomalies in the way you're explaining it are bugging me too much, and I'm hot on pursuit. Detective Pierrot is going to find out what you're missing. And then there's a big debate. Okay. It's an improvement that comes when you realize why you can have a new explanation that's better. So, will. So where is your explanation of will? You see, will is the phenomena. It's the retrograde motion. We're trying to explain it. You're trying to explain it by, well, just mechanics. But that's the problem. Mechanics doesn't explain it. But we were really hoping it would. We were trying, and it looked good for so many thousand years. Come on. Well, no, it doesn't explain will. That's the problem, and it's a big problem. All right? But you can't just will it away. You are limited in what you could do about it. So, so first you have to identify the will as a phenomena. The will as some sort of thing happening. We don't know what it is. And separate that completely from all your preconceived notions of will. Oh, it's like a little guy inside your brain. No, will is whatever makes this appearance of freedom a decision. Whatever makes it look like other animals are choosing which way to go and what to eat first. And that's the part of will. Oh, but what explains all the parts where that animal was about to eat the apple first and a rock fell on it? That's the laws of physics. Do great at that. Mechanics, is if you include, quantum mechanics, explains all that. Great. All the restraints we have explained pretty damn well, considering, And I'm sure there's just as much more and more than that to learn still, don't get me wrong. But I'm just acknowledging, fine, the constraints we've got explained with physics. We don't have even a hint of how the freedom can come. We're looking for an explanation. So, epicycles, an explanation for retrograde motion. Ether, explanation for how light could be a wave. Phlogiston, explanation of how inanimate, non-burning matter could become burning. Okay, material. Those are all material investigations. It's like, well, I think there's something material here, and they went a little bit too far, and they thought material meant like water. No, it's like weird relativistic spring space. And epicycles, they thought, well, everything had to be a circle, so the circle will be material. Phlogiston, there had to be something released, like when you break open something and you smell, it's a release. So this is materialism in action. These are not errors. The thing is, you hold on to these theories, that's why they're still famous, until you have a better one to explain the phenomena. And it might be that will turns out totally unfree and you've explained it, but you have to explain the appearance of this somewhat free but restrained motion. The decisions. Don't try to get me on a technicality. That I can look at that and pick it up or not. And you say, oh, well, you're just led to it. Well, it doesn't appear that way. Explain the appearances. Okay. That's the point. To them, they're like, well, I can explain the appearances, even though everything should be a circle, is if it's circles and circles, then the appearance is explained. I can explain the ether if there's some sort of weird medium, but it's still classical and has a rest frame. Okay, so so they're trying to explain the appearance. There's an appearance of will, and that's the part you're not doing. You're not explaining